The wild here doesn't whisper, it roars. Glaciers crack like thunder. Waterfalls carve paths through time. And in the middle of it all, she waits. Motor Yacht Unbridled. A sanctuary of warmth and refinement in the heart of Alaska's untamed frontier. Bears wander the shoreline. Whales breach on the horizon. Seals nap on drifting ice while you sip champagne on the aft deck. This isn't a cruise, it's a calling, and only the bold will answer. Now booking your next unforgettable charter, yachtunbridled.com or through your preferred charter broker.
Top of the morning, folks. It's Captain Liam here, Motor Yacht Unbridled, on the bridge today. I've got the honour of having Captain Wendy Clark from Plumeria Marine. How are you today, Wendy?
I'm doing great, Cap. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Likewise, Captain. I just saw the flower there. You were telling me about you spent some time in Hawaii, correct?
Yeah, born and raised in Southern California and had the privilege of spending family vacations over on the islands, and love that place. It holds my heart for sure.
Yeah, and whereabouts in Southern California? Is it San Diego, LA? Orange County?
Yeah, Orange County, California. So I did all of my training and coming up as a no-stripes deckhand on a vessel in Newport Beach, California, in the harbor there.
Well, that's our home port. That's where the owners have the 3 yachts.
Yeah, I saw you guys for the Newport Boat Show, and I was like, that's my hometown.
Yeah.
Waters. I love that.
Oh, it's a special little spot. When we got Unbridled in there, I was like, you sure we fit? And then the other 2 yachts are like, you'll be right, you'll be right. I'm like, so I just followed the little channels in there, and it's a special part of the world.
Yeah, I think they had to put special moorings down in that turning basin for you.
Exactly. Well, is it called the Venice of the West? Or is that correct?
I think they maybe call it like Lido Island likes to express themselves that way. It does. It's a bunch of small islands linked by, small canals. Not to talk bad about where I grew up, but definitely having been to Venice.
Okay, you can't compare it, eh? You can't compare it. And you're in Tampa, Florida now?
Yes.
Okay.
This is our new home base, has been for almost 10 years now. So, local-ish by this point.
Yeah, well, you sound a busy person. I went over your platform there and your portfolio, and I was like, wow, that's somebody who keeps busy. So what's your kind of passion? What do you do this for? How did you get into kind of the maritime sector?
Yeah, my path into the maritime industry was accidental, to be totally honest. While I was in Southern California, I was going to school. I actually wanted to do research on research vessels, atmospheric and ocean science. Yeah. And so I figured that a good way to get on to vessels with limited space was to kind of be a dual crew member. I could both deckhand and also do the science side of things. And then the longer I stayed in academia, just kind of kept moving my way up and did the same on the charter vessel side. I worked on a luxury inspected charter yacht out of Newport, and just kind of had like this dual path.
Yeah.
And got to the point where I decided I didn't want to spend the rest of my life in academia behind a computer.
Yeah.
And made the switch. I had enough sea time that I took my classes, took my tests, and started out life with a 100-ton near coastal.
Oh, congratulations. What a journey, isn't it? I mean, I think once you get a couple of sunrises and sunsets at sea and you kind of enjoy that time on the bridge and you're talking, in training new crew, you get hooked on it. Like I'm the same. I grew up wanting to be a marine biologist in North Queensland, and I went to university, and then I kind of kept going, you know what? There's a lot of studying here and a lot of books. I could just be out at sea. And then I just spent my career, did maritime colleges in Australia, went to sea. So I never looked back.
I learned that I was a terrible coder. And so unfortunately, all that climate science had gone to computer modeling and, running models for a couple weeks and seeing if you get the world to burn and then, how to undo it and fix it. And I learned I was frankly terrible at it. So it was time to, get my degree, finish my master's and move on and do something that I was a little bit better at.
Fantastic. Where has it taken you in the world? You've talked about Hawaii, talked about Newport Beach.
Most of my travels have just been with like family. My travels on board have actually been very limited, and my path has been more on the like management side of things. So I didn't ever really have the chance to get on something like Unbridled and go see the world. And, maybe 20 years ago, I'd be like, yeah, let's do this all over again. And right now I'm just trying to like maybe set a path with some smoother seas and do the stuff that I like deliveries and making sure. I've spent a lot of time building charter programs and maintenance programs. And so helping even recreational vessels.
That's a huge market. I mean, I think that market is kind of per dollar value, it's probably just as big as the yachting sector. You know what I mean? A lot of people blow up this yachting industry like it's the most important thing. I think the smaller the boat, the harder it is to drive. And it's just
same.
complicated.
So I've run everything from 40-foot like Corinthian, little pontoon boats, all the way up to 182-foot custom tri-deck. And everybody's like, oh my God, I can't believe you parked this thing. And I'm like, oh, sorry about that. Hey,
bring the dog in if you want. There's no stress here. Do your thing. I have a little Labrador that every time I do a Zoom, the Labrador jumps in and I'm like, okay.
Yeah, Lucy is half Queensland Heeler and German Shepherd, and she is talkative and pushy.
Yeah. She's probably jealous right now, going, hang on.
She heard my voice and she's like, why aren't you talking to me?
Yeah. So we're saying the smaller boats are more difficult to drive, and that's what I tell a lot of the junior crew. They all say, oh, Unbridled's tough. And I'm like, I saw my brother recently in Santa Cruz, California. He's got a little fishing boat, a little half-cabin cruiser. And he's like, okay, take it out. And I took it out off the dock, and it was current, and it was wind, and there was a little dock to get in. I was like, all right, let me just slow down here, Cap. We got no one to help you anymore. And it's actually more difficult because for people that don't understand, you're more exposed to the currents and elements.
Right. Yeah. The vessels, even 80 feet and above, you have that mass that you can use own inertia to kind of just keep it going in the direction you want to go to. And it's really got to be blowing, or it's really got to be, pushing in the current to give you some pushback. So I'm always like, honestly, guys, I could teach you how to do this in about 15 seconds.
Yeah, exactly.
Would I trust you to do it by yourself after 15 seconds? No, but I would stand. We can make it happen, though.
I think the biggest problem is the risk of damage gets so bigger. The dollar value of it, and the mistakes, and the crew, the incidences, and the safety concerns. That's where the real stress is, not the maneuvering. And
it's always like, where's the greenie? Is his or her foot wrapped in a line somewhere? Yeah. Somebody standing by to throw the line, to help throw the line in case they miss it on the first shot. And, it's you and I are pretty comfortable at the helm. Like, we know what the boat will do. It's always the human factor that's always in the back of your head of.
Exactly. Yeah, there is.
How do I keep my guys and girls safe?
Yeah. So Plumeria Marine, what's I saw a lot of the breakdown. Where's kind of your main targeted audience? Is it based out of Tampa, Florida, or?
Well, the nice thing is that all my licensing is Coast Guard. So anything that's U.S. waters or patrolled or policed, so to speak, by U.S. Coast Guard, my license is good. So I focus mainly on federal paperwork compliance. Yeah. So COD renewals, whether it's rec or inspected, safety audits, and then making sure that the vessels are up to whatever safety code they need to follow, whether it's rec or charter or, inspected vessel, uninspected passenger vessel, anything like that. And then all of the paperwork that goes along with the safety stuff, EPIRBs, MMSI numbers, getting vessels registered for that kind of stuff, getting it changed as vessels get sold and they have new ownership, getting all of that stuff transferred from old owner to new owner. And just trying to keep the back end of stuff as smooth as possible. I've seen charter companies lose months of charterable time because a COD fell through, or somebody jumped the gun and changed the name of the vessel on paperwork before it was done on the vessel. And it causes a nightmare that most people don't understand. So they don't really see it coming. And then having been director of marine operations for 5 years and assistant and staff captains, I always got to see kind of those inflection points where if this goes right, everything's great. And if it goes wrong, it's months of paperwork, Coast Guard having to come out multiple times. And it really just eats into whether it's using your boat for fun or possibly having charter income for it. So
what I appreciate is, I put US Coast Guard as the highest standard pretty much in the maritime world. And a lot of times I'm on a red ensign flag, the Cayman Island flagship, and in yachting we have Marshall Islands, St. Vincent, all these flags. What people don't realize is the standard that US Coast, it's different. US Coast Guard has a very stringent policy, and even going as a foreign flag boat going into California is difficult, especially over 500 gross tons. The amount of permits and applications and non-tank vessel response plans, and then going into each state is slightly different, correct?
Yeah. So I focus on the federal side of things because that I can do anywhere: Alaska, Hawaii, Florida, California, even the inland states that have navigable rivers. So for that, from that standpoint, it's something that is very standard for me. But yeah, any of our states that have any coastal area or navigable river, they are allowed to have their own state level registrations and state level regulatory issues as well. So yeah, it becomes a mess.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's a hard stop too. It's not as if that, okay, well, you're going to get a warning and you can continue chartering. It's like, this is the safety of the passengers. And this is your charter license, and it's been revoked until it's remedied. So where do you find the biggest opportunity for growth in terms of learning? Do you find it from the broker's perspective, from the owner's perspective, or the crew perspective? Like, how do you navigate those three? Because it sounds like as a captain, we're always in that world between those three.
Exactly. And so I found over the last 5 years that my specialty is really in like building a program, like finding crew, training crew, trying to get owners to understand that when Coast Guard is very black and white. Yeah. If they haven't said yes, then it's a no. It's not a we'll talk about it if you catch me maneuver. So learning how to, not only just be in charge of the vessel, but also be in charge of the vessel while you've got crew on board, while you have drunk people on board, while you have an owner saying, I'm trying to book something else, while you've got the Coast Guard looking over your shoulder. So honestly, I have found my growth in trying to streamline just programs in general, whether it's recreational use or lately, because of my previous role, small uninspected passenger vessel charter industry.
Well, I think the liability is huge, and that's the other thing that owners and crew don't understand. Everyone thinks it's a great life. You go out there fishing, diving, cruising, having fun, but there's an example of a gentleman in Miami recently, and there was an incident on board. Someone died, and he got manslaughter case against him.
Yeah.
And that's the seriousness of it.
It's all very serious. And I actually got kind of a interesting, I'm going to take it as a compliment, but it was a little bit of a backhanded comment. I was running a vessel for a gentleman, and he got wind of that issue, that accident in Miami. And he said something along the lines of, I guess it was a good thing that you've been, God, I can't even come up with the word anymore, but it was like I put up with the fact that you are so safety centric. Like, it's been such a burden. And then,
okay, I see you there. Yeah.
This, a
compliment.
Yeah. So it was very sorry, my safety's been a burden.
Yeah. But once you dive deeper, you realize it's safety.
Yeah, I was like, I'm gonna take that as a compliment and just kind of move on. Yeah. But yeah, because my background started in inspected vessels and then went to larger inspected vessels and then kind of back down into the UPV area. My safety background is it's much like the Coast Guard. It's very light. We've got standards we need to meet, and not meeting them is really not an option.
Yeah, which is the way it should be.
Or fortunately, there's no wiggle room.
Yeah, which is the way it should be. I mean, like we did Alaska this last year on Unbridled, and that whole trip up the West Coast from San Diego, Washington, we went into San Francisco, and every port I went into, I'm like, this West Coast, they've got it, it's tough. And even the East Coast of Florida, it's a tough country to kind of navigate when you're not familiar with the US Coast Guard regulations.
Yeah, and
foreign flag ship. You've got purging, you've got environmental concerns, you've got permitting, you've got fishing licenses, you've got shore licenses. So to have someone like you, I think, would be a great asset to any program.
Thank you. Yeah, I think I would have to check. I'd have to go back and check, but there's either a tonnage requirement or a length requirement where you even have to have your bottom cleaned within a certain time of entering some of our more sensitive ecological preservation areas, so that you don't bring bottom growth in, from Indonesia and
fair enough.
Yeah, bringing stuff like that. So I know the cruise ships are starting to have to do that in some more sensitive areas, and not just even in the US, but even in some international spaces where they've got protected, like marine protection areas that, there was a cruise ship that got held out maybe a year and a half ago because when they got inspected, the bottom just was carrying too many foreign entities. Yeah.
Yeah, in a lot of these yachts, we've got a lot of foreign entities. We've got the aliens on board, all these foreign crew that come in, so which is it's good fun, but we've got pretty much 50% US, 50% foreign crew. We try and have a balance of it all, especially because you're going to these areas. The US crew understand a lot more about the regulations, the requirements, and the type of cruising. And local knowledge to me is everything in my business, So talking about your journey as a female going into the maritime sector, the reason I kind of bring this up is I love working with females. They're so much more organized and so much more diligent, and they don't have the ego that the man has, especially the male captain. We all believe that, I don't know what that joke is. It'll come to me, but there's a joke about a god and a yacht captain. Do you know that one yet?
I haven't, but I have a feeling I know where this is going.
Yeah, anyway, I'll come up with it, but they're quite very similar. So as a female in the industry, it's really developing. We're seeing so many young females join. We're seeing icons like yourself, Captain Kelly. There's a lot of others, Captain Sandy Dawn, even on below decks. What's the biggest challenges you face in the maritime sector? Because that's important to understand that for young females.
Yeah, we definitely don't get to where we are by having a thin skin. That's for sure. It's still much of a boys' club. I'm delighted to my bones to see other females at the helm and other females on deck, and then watching them kind of rise through the ranks as well. But yeah, there's always and I feel a little bit like a broken record saying this, but there's always that we have to work twice as hard, and all of our work has to be completely unimpeachable, because we can stand shoulder to shoulder with a 17-year-old dude who's been driving his dad's center console since
yeah, sorry, I shouldn't laugh at him, but I know exactly the person you're talking about.
Exactly, right? And to still,
but thinks they can talk their way out of everything.
Right. Or just I'll figure it out when it happens.
Yeah.
And then there's the rest of us that have worked really hard to be where we're at, and to still have doubts about me just because I'm female is really frustrating. Like when I was at the dinner cruise company, that's the 180 footer that I was working on, I'd stand and greet everybody as they came on board. And I'd be standing next to a mate or a DJ or a front of house manager, and they'd always, I'm in uniform, 4 stripes, stupid little hat, and they'd still walk right past. They'd be like, "Oh, are you our chief stew for the night?" And I'm like,
"Oh, yeah."
No, I'm not.
Well, I tell you, it is changing. I see it, and I see so many, because I try and engage in social media to encourage the next generation. That's what I enjoy about social media.
You've been fantastic to follow. I
Appreciate.
have found quite a kinship in your just leadership style, I think.
I enjoy what I do. I love what I do, and I love a crew. And I'm at an age now where my giving back is bigger. I want it to be bigger than just the crew I have and my family. I want it to be the next generation of yacht crew, and I don't want them to come in with attitude. I don't want to come in thinking it's a party scene, because it's like, and following like things like below decks. There's positives out of below decks, but the negatives are some of the crew are joining thinking that this is a party environment. And it's a serious thing. You got people's lives that we're dealing with, you know, and as a captain yourself, you understand the regulatory requirements, but also what I understand is the liability. And we're responsible for people's children now. We have 19, 20-year-old stewardesses and boys joining, and that's nearly the same age as my children. So what I'm trying to do is impact them in a positive way, saying this is a serious career and you can really go a long way and you're going to have a good time, but just be professional about it, you know?
Yeah, and it's easy to blur those lines, especially on our industry where you live where you work and you work where you live.
Yeah.
And, you know, you can't necessarily get away from the person that's bothering you, or it's harder for you to find your quiet space in all of the chaos.
Yeah.
So whether, you know, you're having the bad day or somebody else is having the bad day, it affects everybody on board. Yeah. And it's hard. I've always run a dry crew in a dry boat. Which has been easier for me to enforce because I've either worked on inspected vessels where we don't stay on board, or we've done, or I've worked with like local charters and stuff like that. So the crew does get to go home, or there is extended off time.
Yeah,
so that their home life isn't peppered in the small moments between charters. So I have seen that the crew that I've had the chance to work with that gets to go home, actually, and this is kind of also my pitch for rotation, is that they actually get a chance to decompress and be themselves, and they don't feel like they have to pack a week's worth of vacation or drinking or experiences into a 24, 48, 72-hour time crunch.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. And it's the industry that I'm in, yachting, like we travel so much around the world. But the good thing about social media now is the accountability that people now have. It's like if you're going to be a party person, you're going to go out there, people are going to are going to know about it, and you're not going to have as positive as a professional reputation as you'd like to have.
And unfortunately, we've seen a few maritime incidents linked to that. We'll get off the boat for 24 hours. I'm going to take you guys over to the bar.
Yeah.
We're going to drink.
Well, even that loon incident last year, you look into that with the boat being driven by someone intoxicated and crew intoxicated under someone else's asset, which is not even theirs. That's a horrible side of the industry. But what I'm noticing, and the more I dig into this, I had a conversation yesterday on Instagram about abuse of alcohol and drugs in yachting, and it brought up to me the facts are horrific. 88% of people feel like the abuse of alcohol in yachting is prevalent. You know what I mean? So and these young stewardesses, whether it's guest or crew, putting themselves in situations which is not healthy for the stewardesses or the deck crew. You know, they're basically abusing them while intoxicated. So that's something that we have to address in yachting, you know, and I think it's important we have these conversations. But in terms of females in yachting, I think it's changing. I'm positive. I'm seeing it. And to see people like yourself shine, both personally and professionally, I think that's the role models people look for. You know?
I hope. I mean, I said in a really early interview with Rhea that, like, I didn't get into this to, like, kick down any glass ceilings or make any differences. I just enjoyed being on the water, and I'm a science nerd, and it was nice to, you know, see the ocean and the atmosphere in action.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, slowly as my career builds, it's nice to have a positive impact on my crew. I don't know if I've gotten to the point yet where I would use a platform to reach further, but
oh, you are. Just by being yourself, you are naturally. Like people, I've always learned that you don't know what people see, but people see a lot more than what you know. if that makes any sense. Like people know of you and they see you, and a young girl walking down the docks will see you, and that means the world, to give her a future.
I appreciate that. And I do tend to lose the perspective of it, especially just, being in the yachting industry is not really a thing yet in Tampa, Florida. So it's
It's still boating. It's all the same though.
It's fluid. We'll get there.
It's all the same though. It's boating. It's, it's the environment. It's being out on water. It's that type of personality that engages in an outdoor activity, and if you can make it professional and you can make it a lifestyle, like most of my friends grew up in San Diego washing boats and now they're captains of yachts, So it all starts at a certain spot and you choose your path in the maritime sector, whether you're a tugboat person or a cruise ship person or running a company like yourself. We're all part of the same family. We love what we do.
We are, and we got to have everybody's back while we're in it too.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. What I did notice in Alaska this year, 5 out of the 6 pilots we had were females.
Awesome. Great for them.
It was awesome. It was awesome. We had one client that kind of went, hang on, we've got a female pilot. I'm like, what's wrong with you? Not what's wrong with this. This is perfect. This is great. And they all had their individual stories. And it was just I spent 7 days with each one of them on the bridge. And it was just such a pleasure because there's so much more at that level, like yourself, with experience going through the hurdles that you go through as a female. There's so much more calmer and diligent and professional. And they've got the background of knowledge that a lot of men, I think, try and use our masculinity to get through and our ego to get through without the actual core knowledge. Does that make sense?
I do. It's my brother said to me a couple months ago, like, just have the confidence of a white male. He's like, you have the knowledge, you've got the respect, you know what you're doing. You just, like, as females, we'll sit back and say like, oh, okay, well, this needs to happen. This needs to happen. I'm not technically qualified for that, although I do have a little bit of experience, blah, blah, blah. And my brother's like, no, in general, speaking as a white man, he's like, no, as a white male, I read something and go, I know 40% of that. Let's just do it.
That's enough. Yeah, have the confidence.
Look at it. I go, oh, I only know 40% of that. I need to make changes before I feel confident saying,
true,
I'm even close to an expert in it. And so once, it was kind of funny to hear. And then I got very similar advice from like 3 or 4 different people in my life, including my wife, just like kind of like in that same month. And so it was nice to have that support group and people like pointing out like, no, you know what you're doing. Like I left programs where I knew what I was doing. I was in charge. I was making all of these calls, then into kind of the ether and starting my own business and not being raised in an entrepreneurial spirit or environment, then trying to make this transition has honestly been like the hardest thing I've ever done. I'll take a boat out into a hurricane before I would say like, I want to be a business owner.
Yeah, good on you. Good on you. Where do you want the business to go? What's your vision here?
You know what? I really, we've opened up kind of an extra to the paperwork business, and that is deliveries, and like technical deliveries, not just like take it from Tampa to Fort Lauderdale, which we'll do, but rivers, lakes, locks, multi-country, multi-day. We can deal with all of the paperwork in and out of multiple countries. We've already coordinated and liaised with an international shipping company to get somebody's vessel onto a shipping ship to make the rest of its journey, because she was a little too small to do the crossing on her own hull. So I think I would really just love to get this to a point where I just have, 200-ton captains that can move pretty much any vessel anywhere it needs to go. We don't need to be heavy in the charter. The management space is very full. I've got really good contacts that are fantastic vendors, that I would in a heartbeat put on somebody's vessel. Instead of me crawling around the bilge, which I've done for the past 5 years, those smaller yachts, man, they really get you.
Oh yeah. We've got 4 tenders on board Unbridled, and then 4 jet skis. And I'll tell you what, they're the hardest work of the whole lot, because it's like a little battery you got to change. You're like, all right, here we go. How many cuts and bruises am I going to get?
Exactly. That's the only upside of being small and female, is that like I can get that. That's fine. But that does mean that as captain, I was like, I would never ask my crew to do something that I wouldn't be comfortable doing myself. So that did mean that in the smallest spaces, I was like, somebody just grab my ankles, because I'm the only one that really is going to fit in here. Yeah. So if I holler, pull me back out. Like that's all I got.
Don't leave me. You know?
Yeah, don't leave me out here.
No, I think you're saying that's what you're building, is you're building a network of people that can really provide a good service, because the contacts and the contractors are getting harder and harder to find. So the network of electricians and plumbers and mechanics, that's what it sounds like.
And good ones. I mean, like, unfortunately, when somebody buys a boat, either new or used, they're looking at the output of a lot of money. And so then when they start to look at like, oh, paperwork needs to be done, or it needs to be moved, it needs to be delivered, I've seen them start to, like, that's where they cut the cost. Yeah. And unfortunately, like,
and they lose interest in the whole thing.
Right. And so I've been on the delivery side, undercut a few times by these young guys that are just like, I'll do it for like $200 and
just cast the lines, it'll be fine.
And put 20 of your friends on board, we'll all go together. And I've seen them run aground. Not like personally, but you know, I get a call a week later, like, I'm like, oh, did you make it? And the broker's like, no, it's now at a yard at X and X because it now needs 2 props. Both the shafts have been pulled. One of them, you know, or, you know, and it's just like, it's like I would love to just like sit the owners down and the brokers and just like shake them a couple of times. And it'd been like, my bid wasn't much more expensive than this kid's, but
now look at the situation we're in. Well, it's also saving pennies cost you pounds. Yeah, true. Like saving pennies cost you pounds. That's what I say in yachting, like pounds as in dollars. So you save these pennies, it costs you more in the long run. You may as well just have a stable, reliable company working with you that you can trust, that gets you through the hurdles. Because yacht ownership, like they say, it's the only 2 days of the first day and the last day. In between, unless you get a company like yours, it's a very difficult experience, unless you got professional crew. And that's kind of what you're offering. You're offering a professional service to these different yachts.
Yeah,
all the problems.
And even just support to whoever their full-time captain is. Because for me, I was full-time captain and director of marine operations. So all of the paperwork I was still responsible for. And I know that in your position, you still have a lot of that paperwork that you are personally, that the owners are just like, oh, Cap can do it.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, well,
it's stacked up here. It's like, oh.
Exactly. Whereas I can go through that and be like, oh, you're going to be in U.S. waters. I can take all of the federal regulations off the top for you.
Yeah.
Let you know exactly what you can and what you can't do, who you need to have on board, who should be talking to.
And what you need to have on board too, because it's.
Yeah. And what? Yeah. All this to meet the safety regulations, to meet the environmental regulations. And we literally have like 5 books that that the U.S. government puts out. That's our regulatory statutes. So it's all in there. Yeah. But do you have time to sit there and read it?
No.
Honestly, I didn't have time to sit there and read it either. The knowledge I've gained is by like each time running into a roadblock and going,
how am I getting past this?
Guess I got to go look that up. So at least I was in a situation where I had the time, or at least the knowledge to like know where to look.
Yeah.
And if you're a new vessel owner or a new charter captain, like you don't necessarily know all that. And so why waste your time searching either in books or on the internet or asking friends when it's hopefully something that I can just, a service that, Plumeria Marine can just at some point be able to just provide for you guys.
Well, I'm sure you're doing it already. I'm sure your customers are very grateful, and I wish you nothing but success. I think you've got the leadership skills, and you've got the biggest asset I think you have is the ability to have the foundational knowledge to provide the solutions that people don't even know they need the solutions for. Because most time, I just want to buy a boat, sign here, get the financing organized, and good luck. And then they hit the first sandbar with a cheap captain, and you're like, well, that was a horrible experience. So.
And then they sell it, and then they're mad at the broker, and then it is just it
2 years later it starts again. The next year's boat show it starts again.
They're like, "Oh, that's shiny. Maybe I'll try again."
No, the network's the most important thing. If you can work with professional people in the maritime sector, because at the end of the day, we're trying to keep these owners or who are the clients happy. Because if they're happy and they're enjoying their boat ownership in any level, whether it's a 42-foot or a 400-foot. That provides the structure for our industry, and then that helps people get out to what we love, which is the ocean.
Yeah, I always tell my crew, I was like, we're in an industry where somebody could literally wake up in the morning and decide it's over.
Yeah.
So build your skills, build your network, know your exit plans, whether it's another vessel or another program or some downtime and training. But you need to have those things lined up. Even if you're in a program that you'd love to stay in for the next 5-10 years, somebody could just wake up one morning and decide, I don't want to do this anymore, successful or not. They could just
and that's negative. Like that's tough for people to hear, but it's the reality. And if you can find comfort and positivity in that, I think you'll have a good, bright future. Because I say to the crew all the time, I'm like, nothing's permanent here. Like I'm a rock away from losing everything. I always got to think in my head, I'm one rock away, like when I hit the bottom or I hit the rock or something happens in Alaska at sea.
You're in logging territory?
Yeah. Well, I go way out to sea. A lot of boats go up the inside passage to Alaska. And I'm like, you know what? Let me out to sea. I want to be 12 miles off the Canadian coast heading north,
Definitely. Yeah, I just heard horror stories about guys running at dusk and just not seeing those logs that float vertically, and they just.
Well, even the ice this year, a lot of the clients said, can we get closer to the glacier? And all I'm thinking is, like, I'm just hearing the noises of icebergs on a thin aluminum hull. I'm like, I can take the tender for you all day long. I said, but the mothership.
Turn around.
Oh, the ship's okay. We're okay here. We use the binoculars,
Yeah, you're like, it's going to be beautiful from here. You'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
Or it's just going to look dirty because you'll be able to see the mud and the ice.
Yeah, true, actually. Good point. Anyway, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I usually only go for 15, 20 minutes. I think we've just talked on and on, but I really value what you do.
Thank you very much. It'll be Rhea's problem. She can edit it all out later.
Exactly. So huge shout out to Ray, Yacht International Radio, Modi Unbridled, looking for another big season up in Alaska. And Wendy, how can people get a hold of you, and what's your closing thoughts and your advice to people in the industry and owners or crew?
Thank you. I'm running a company called Plumeria Marine. We're online. You can find us that way. We do federal paperwork compliance, safety audits, and we have a new arm of specialized technical deliveries. You'll be able to find us on the internet. You can reach out to me personally on the email or the telephone number that's on there. And I would just really like our industry to understand that there's underlying compliance issues that we need to be better at. And it's all for safety, whether it's safety of the vessel and the owner's asset, safety of our crew, and safety of the environment that we really make our living enjoying and exploring.
True. And what I love about you is you can solve all this paperwork that I have to deal with, so I can go back to enjoy the ocean.
I can. Give me a call after this. We'll figure it all out.
Perfect. All right. Thank you very much, Captain Wendy, for your time and your story. Be safe out there, everyone. Be blessed and have a wonderful time.
If your brand belongs in the heart of the yachting world, this is where it happens. Yachting International Radio reaches over 1 million yachting professionals and enthusiasts every month, with 77 million impressions, 220,000 social followers, and 74,000 podcast subscribers. Our hosts are insiders, crew, captains, CEOs, trusted voices shaping the industry. This is targeted, high-impact advertising in a luxury niche. Visit yachtinginternationalradio.com/advertise.